Welcome to our sports video sessions provided by the Office of Sport. This video centres around social media and provides a good introduction to get your club going. And to get us started with social media, it's important to consider the online landscape. Technology is everywhere. 10 years ago, none of the things that we have today in technology existed. Now, I can buy a car online. I can shop for an apartment, real estate, a house. I can download 1,000 songs and put them on my iPod in my pocket. I can shop online to auction off the things that are in my house I don't want anymore. And sport really is no exception to any of this. It's an industry that's also moving online as well. But over the last 10 years, society and technology have changed completely. Now, when it comes to sport, that means our customers, our members, our players, they're pressed for time. And that places additional pressure on our club that didn't exist a decade ago. And it's something that we have to come to grips with. But there is, of course, a solution. Social media. And it is something that we can use to make our lives easier, make our club's lives easier, and do everything from capture new members, hold on to existing members, communicate as our club, and do all the things to engage with technology and engage with people in a way that we never could have done before. But the critical question, what is social media? Because it's a two-way street and it's a way of engaging with our members. The analogy for the pre-digital age was using a community notice board where a club would put something up and people would come along and they'd tear off the little slips of paper. And social media is not a direct analog to that. It's not a direct comparison. Social media really is a two-way street, as the old community notice board was a one-way street. And I guess it's a way of engaging with our members, and engagement's the key word there. It's a way of making sure that we're communicating with them and they're communicating with us. And when we think about social media, what do you think of? Facebook, Twitter, YouTube? But it's a much broader ecosystem than that. When we think of social media, most people think of Facebook and Twitter. But it's a wide array of networks that exist out there, and they can be broken down into different types. We have the sharing-based networks that most people would regard as social media. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, Flickr, the list goes on. But there are other types of social media as well. Did you know? Some of them are used in corporate or work environments to share documents. Google Drive, Dropbox. There's all different ways that we can use social media, and they're not just for sharing pictures and videos. They can be corporate as well. And maybe they're direct communication based. They could be things like WhatsApp, Google Chat, MSN Messenger. Social networking is huge, and they're just a small subset or list of the networks that we have. Looking internationally, the networks go on, and there are hundreds that we could list here. But I guess the takeaway is that social media is everywhere, and it's something that we have to be aware isn't just Facebook and Twitter. But for the purposes of sport, there are, of course, a few networks that make sense to use. When it comes to social media, they can also be accessed in one of two ways. Most networks can be accessed from a traditional PC or computer. However, some networks can also be accessed from your phone. And even more than that, some networks can only be accessed from your phone. An app like Instagram, for example, is designed for someone to use their phone to take photos and upload them. That can only be done through their handset. That cannot be done through a computer. You can browse Instagram online, but you can't post it without a phone. So it's important to remember that not all the networks are computer-based, not all are mobile-based, some are both, but some are also exclusive to one or the other. There are a number of tips and tricks to get your club going with social media. And the first one is to have a media manager. Now, we all know what it's like sitting on a committee. You volunteer, you put your hand up, and you become the president, secretary, or treasurer of a club. It's often hard to get people to run for these roles, but a media manager, they can be a little bit different. It's a way of either engaging someone on your committee or board, or engaging someone new, or even engaging someone of a younger generation who is always at game day, they're always at the field or the pool, to come up and actually join the club in an administrative role. And that's really interesting for governance because you can get someone younger in the sport, set them up being the media manager, they look after the Facebook and the Twitter, and one day they could find themselves on the committee. So it's a really interesting way of building some continuity and governance within the sport. But what does that person do? The media manager's role is to maintain the social media accounts. They upload content to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whichever accounts the club is using. They moderate posts that go onto those, and they're responsible for keeping an eye on them, removing inappropriate content, responding to questions, and it's important to make sure that role is lined out. They need to be supported by the committee, and the committee needs to have a clear idea of what the media manager can and can't do. Do they have full responsibility, for example, to remove inappropriate content, or does that need to be escalated to the committee? It's important to lay these things out. And it needs to be clear who's authorised to create content. The game changes in the week, and you need to post something online. Is that the role of the media manager, or is it the role of the committee? Should the committee tell the media manager? All these questions are things that need to be sorted out as you move forward, getting someone involved. The second suggestion is to have consistent branding. Most clubs have a website, they have a logo, and they have club colours. It's important that your website, your physical branding, and your social media all look the same. The same logo needs to be used right across the things that you do. The same colours need to be used right across the things that you do. People are very cluey, and when they're looking for your club on Facebook, they're going to recognise your logo and your colours, and it's important to have that branding the same. If you use multiple networks, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever they may be, use the same branding images, the same imagery, the same content laid across the top to give it a familiar feel. And it's really important for members to make sure that they know it's your club that they're looking at. And when you set something up, make sure that your account names are all the same. We've all seen a Facebook account, facebook.com/mysportingclub. Make sure that's the same on Twitter, twitter.com/mysportingclub. They all should be the same. It shouldn't be something that people are logging on to different social media networks looking for you under different names. It makes it clear for members looking for your sport, and it makes it easy for existing members to find your sport. The third suggestion is to have multiple administrators. This means that you can have multiple people in the club who do have access to the accounts. They don't have to be all doing stuff on Facebook every day, and they don't have to be doing stuff on Twitter every day, but it is a fallback if people leave. Most clubs have an annual general meeting and people change. People leave, new people come on, and it's important that the social media accounts continue. When you set them up, if possible, set them up in the club name. Set them up with a club email address, not someone's personal email address. Make it owned by the club. And that means that when people move on, the club can keep going. Some of the networks support multiple administrators. Facebook has levels of administration, many administrators, and it's easy to add and remove, but not all the networks do. Twitter, for example, only has one username and password, and it's important to make sure that if that's the case, that username and password is owned by the club, not just one of the people on the committee. And the last suggestion is to make sure that you're using all the tools available for you. There are a number of free and paid tools available out there to help you manage all your social media accounts. Hootsuite, for example, Sprout Social. There are different platforms that enable your club to manage various social media accounts within the one piece of software. They're also all online, and it means that I can log in once to one of these and post the same message across all my social media channels at once. Clubs should be aware that some of these services are paid. Some of them are more suited to a business than a volunteer club, but for large clubs and for clubs that are really engaged with social media, they are worth looking at. They all offer different features, but they can be really beneficial in making sure that you're getting the most out of your time. Rather than logging onto 4 different networks, you only have to log on to one, and that will populate the message 4 times. They're easy to set up, there are plenty of help guides available for them, and they can actually make your life as a club a lot easier. And moving on from our suggestions about how to set things up, what do we do when things go wrong? Because things will go wrong with social media. Just like any community, your members engage in real life, they also engage online. Disagreements happen at game day in real life, they will happen online. But it's important to remember there's no problem that you can't solve on social media. When things happen, it's really easy. Number 1, remove the offending post. Make sure the inappropriate content is taken down. Number 2, apologise to your members. Dear club members, sorry, we saw something on Facebook that probably wasn't appropriate. This is a place for all our members to enjoy the club. We're advertising to new members and we're looking after our existing members. We have to make sure it's a great place for everyone. So make sure that members understand that content has been removed. And number 3, don't make excuses. Be upfront about why content is removed. Most members will understand why things have been taken down. Most members understand where the line is of what acceptable behaviour is, but don't make excuses and don't let policy override common sense. Make sure that if there are things that need to go up, you're advertising another club in your region, such as a combined football netball club, and in summer it's one and winter it's the other. Share content between clubs. Share content that members want you to promote. Promote the successes of your community. Don't let a document override your common sense with social media. But make sure when things go wrong, you do remove them because they can be fixed. And the worst problem is where things are left unchecked. And of course, make sure you understand how your networks are going. Most of the networks have counts of number of likes, how many people are following you, how many views you had in a particular week. It's important to make sure that you assess how those are going. Most of them have inbuilt tools, and you can link in some other ones like Google Analytics as well to make sure that those are going okay. And of course, at the end of the day, there are a lot of documents to back you up. There are policies online, there are handbooks, there are guides, and they're provided by all kinds of people. Play by the Rules, a national initiative, has a great social media toolkit which lays out a great sample policy which your club can take and just use. Many of your state and national sporting bodies already have a policy that you can customise to your use. And of course, there are a number of links available here and on our website and in a number of other places that you can use, but make sure you get the most out of them. There is a guide written for almost everything in social media. Make sure if you need something that you arm yourselves with the right tools.